Stop. What if I told you that every school child in the UK, every boy and girl, instead of going to their lessons right now, was to be married off to someone, possibly many years older than them, without any say in the issue? There would be outcry. We can't let this happen to our children. What about their rights? Don't they deserve a childhood? In March 2021, UNICEF released a report called 10 million additional girls at risk of child marriages due to COVID-19. In it, they say that COVID-19 will be responsible for 10 million additional early marriages by 2030. That's the equivalent of every school child in the whole of the UK. But how can a virus like COVID-19 be responsible for increasing child marriages by 10 million? To answer this question, let's start by looking at the definition. What is child marriage? UNICEF defines child marriage as the formal marriage or informal union between a child under the age of 18 and an adult or another child. And beyond that definition, what impact is child marriage having on girls and communities around the world?
Child marriage creates a nightmarish legal trap for children. They can be entered into the marriage by parents and or a judge with little or no input from them.
If the minor doesn't want to get married, doesn't matter because they don't have boys. The boys are from their parents, one of them, and from one judge, the person allowed from the law to give the authorization for a minor to get married.
If your daughter doesn't get married, there's a pressure on the family.
She may not be ready for a marriage. A marriage demands a lot, especially in some of the contexts. It is basically a marriage to hardship and to hard labor, having to pick firewood, to feed family, to bear children, and the long-term health of those girls is always at risk.
The younger you are when you are pregnant or you're parenting, the more likely there are to be physiological complications.
Sometimes the child, she dies at the delivery, and because she's so immature, so young, she cannot deliver the child.
In many cases, these girls end up turning to suicide attempts.
There are currently 650 million women and girls who are married in childhood, in the global north and the global south. But if the impacts can be so severe, why is it happening?
It is a byproduct of a socio-economic and cultural setting.
Early marriage is deeply ingrained in many cultures, and there's a lot of religions that would support early marriage.
When a family is struggling with the basic necessities of life, like food, any child is an extra mouth. And if a girl can get married, that is one less mouth they have to worry about. More importantly, in many of those marriages, there's an exchange of dowry. So sometimes the family is financially pressed to get those extra resources to feed the other children.
The fact is, the numbers were in decline. Over the last decade, the proportion of women globally who were married as children decreased by 15%. That progress is being threatened. Before the pandemic, UNICEF was estimating that 100 million children would be forced into child marriage by 2030. But now, because of COVID, they've added an additional 10 million children to that list. How is COVID, a virus, making the numbers go up here? Experts highlight three primary drivers of why this is happening. The first is loss of education. Because of lockdowns, children have been kept from going to school. The second is a declining family income. Parents have lost their jobs and they are struggling to provide for their families. The third is isolation. Families have been in lockdown. They don't have access to places they would normally go for help in these situations, such as churches and community groups, local government, or charities.
COVID has created a situation where we know that millions of children will not go back to school.
Because COVID has brought such a hardship in the life. They were poor before, they are making more poorer now.
Burkina Faso in Western Africa is home to some 3 million child brides. Child marriage is legal there, but it's not strictly enforced. What does it look like to tackle child marriage in that context?
Dans le début du mois de décembre, on a reçu une lettre Jamila, parce qu'on voulait la marier, qui a convoqué ses parents afin de les sensibiliser et de les amener à abandonner cette idée. Effectivement, quand ils sont venus et qu'ils ont compris vraiment l'ampleur même du danger qu'eux-mêmes ils courent, par la grâce de Dieu, ils ont abandonné l'idée du mariage de cet enfant-là. Et que, en tout cas, à l'heure là, l'enfant s'épanouit et l'enfant grandit normalement. Oui, ça allait être vraiment compliqué. Surtout au moment, la période de confinement, personne ne pouvait sortir. Et arriver même, tu ne peux même pas dépasser même barrière de police là même, on te fait retourner.
So the data is clear. COVID-19 could drive 10 million additional girls into child marriage by 2030, but it hasn't happened yet. So what can be done to stop it? Well, the experts will bring up a few primary things. The first is to alleviate poverty in the girls' community.
We have to start empowering our girls, the community, the family. It's a very important step to eliminate child marriage from our law.
The next key step is to open schools back up and give children access to education.
Every girl who gets educated delays marriage and delays bearing children.
We are empowering the victims of child marriage. We are educating them. We are making them skillful. And now they are going back into the society to impact others.
When a young girl becomes a wife and mother at an early age, she's robbed of her childhood, denied education, and has fewer opportunities. Millions of girls each year lose the choice to shape their own futures and live out their potential to lead change in their communities and solve global problems. The situation facing millions of young girls is desperate, but not definite. Girls can be protected. We can help keep them in education, and we can tackle the root causes of poverty that can lead to early marriage. But girls aren't just passive victims. There's a generation of girls who are passionate advocates against child marriage. Girls like Tisha in Bangladesh, Lori in Dominican Republic, Matt in Ethiopia, and Yolan in Brazil. Girls who are making a stand and speaking up for their right to be all that God made them to be. We need to join these girls to raise our voices and say, stop the injustice, stop stealing away the futures of our girls, stop the weddings.